Yes, and thank you, Sheila. I think clearly there are concerns around social media and digital technologies, but sometimes when I listen to it, it does sound a bit like some of those stories I read about when the car came in and was going to undermine the industry for horses. When television came in, it was going to do away with radio. VHS was going to do away with cinema. All those, radio, cinema, horses even, have still got a really clear niche and are doing probably better than people had predicted, especially when you look at something like The Artist, which goes back to a silent movie and still that's just done very well recently. And I guess what I would like to argue is that contrary to its undermining skills and values, what we're seeing is digital technology, social media, broadening and deepening both the skills and values that we have. And maybe it just needs a bit of a more of a flexible mind to take that on board. So, when it comes to social media and digital technologies, you're talking about social media. It's people always throw out lots of stats. I've got a little postcard full of stats here that are always really mind-boggling. Twitter, it's been around for about I think 2006, 2007 was the first tweet. There's 230 million of these things going out a day. They're not all real people, but a lot of them are. There's 100 million active users. Pretty much everybody's on it. Well, most people are on it pretty much every day. Facebook, there's predicted to be 1 billion active users by August of this year. 250 million photos being shared every day. It's one of those things which is just so undeniable, so massive, that we really don't have any other option than to look at it and try and understand what people are getting out of it. It's not only that, more generally, the internet is now stretching to all demographic groups. Half have smartphones. Those people who are getting smartphones are more likely to getting new phones, more likely to get smartphones than any other phone. Half of adults are regular gamers now. They play games regularly, which are often social. And YouTube, again, for mind-boggling statistics, something like 8 years of video gets uploaded every day on YouTube, and that's double what it was last year. So not only is it massive, but it's growing exponentially as well. One of the things that's happening as well is that email is being overtaken by social media. So people are using less email now. If you talk to young kids, they'll talk about inboxing on Facebook. The email really is just this sort of gateway service that they use to the plethora of ways that we can communicate now, which goes to text, microblogging, blogging, video, and in fact people searching now for information on YouTube rather than on Google or any other search engines. So what this means, I think, is that people are developing lots of different skills in order to manage it and understand it and use them in different ways. And so I've come up with like a top 10 list of skills and values that, far from being undermined, are being nourished and are growing and being built upon. They're in the areas of knowledge, health and social skills. So we look first at knowledge. It's the big one. I think, as researchers, it's probably the one that we are pretty focused on as in our trade. It's learning new things. It's interesting with gaming. The kids, a lot of these games they're situated in historical context. They're learning about what's going on. I mean, it might have been battle scenes in World War II in some sort of fairly limited context, but they are learning about it, and equally in a war thing, I don't know how many games we've got here, but if you play any sort of sniping game where you're shooting people, you're learning about gravity and wind speeds and all those kinds of things as well. Now, Twitter, I don't know how many people use Twitter. I mean, it's used for lots of different stuff. There's a lot of crap on it, but for me, it's a fantastic news service. The thing about immediacy and lack of reflecting, yes, there is a concern about a lack of reflection on findings, but I mean, I love the immediacy of news at the moment. I knocked a lot of this up quite quickly by doing a search on the net. I've been in the research industry long enough now to have started off in an agency where I spent a good deal of my day learning and in fact binding paper reports. I mean, that was an awful lot of time-consuming activity, sending off around, through the post for annual reports about companies. Don't have to do any of that anymore, and anyone who's had any kind of problem with a computer just needs to put a search in, and there'll be discussion forums, millions of people using those forums, sharing information and helping people out. I think information literacy, there was a report that came out a couple of years ago from someone I used to work with, and they said, oh, there's a big problem with Google at the moment. People are just doing searches, and they're not, the kids now, they're not, they don't have a very good understanding of information literacy. But I think as people are using more, actually this is growing. I think people are increasing their skills in terms of information literacy, understanding about what is and what isn't good information based on the source that they're getting it from. And also dealing with the mass information that they are getting. There is a skill in trying to filter out some of the rubbish and getting to grips with what can be overwhelming. Sticking with knowledge, and this one is a little bit tenuous, so bear with me, but morality. I wonder whether the digital technology, social media, are making us a more moral people. I think that's particularly in gaming, in order to complete tasks, people now need to collaborate, they do role play, and they see the consequences of their actions. Yeah, well, I'll just leave that one there then. Right, health. Stress relief. Stress relief.
Yeah. You don't need to go there, really.
Information can be stressful, but there's lots of stuff that you can do to relieve stress. One of the things that they talk about on the trains all the time is, by letting you know what's going on, it's going to make you less stressed about your journey. Equally, I've got a game on my phone which is about killing zombies, and believe me, that relieves a lot of my stress as well later in the evening. There is also a connection with depression and lonely people. The evidence is out on this at the moment. The evidence is out on it at the moment, but there is some evidence that people, loners, who suffer with not being able to get out and mix with wider groups are being helped by being able to connect with them online. You can team up in games.
Kill the other one.
Health. Sticking with health. Yes. And as researchers, we do need to be fit. Is it 1 minute?
1 minute.
Yeah, we do need to be fit. As we connect, improving your reflexes. I think fun. One of the key factors into happiness is having a laugh. This stuff can be good fun. We need to lighten up a little bit about it. So the more interesting stuff, social skills and connection, whether it's completing challenges or collaborating to create one of the world's greatest encyclopedias, there's huge benefits there. If you are into knitting or ultra marathons or beer drinking, there's a group for you on there. And there's a group for us researchers to find them. 6 degrees of separation used to be what existed, it's now 4. We're much more connected and interested people in each other. Creativity, I don't know if anyone's come across Pinterest or Tumblrs. These are websites that are very easy to create and which really foster people's natural creativity, and there's some real things of beauty. I was listening to a playlist of music that people had created today. There's some magic stuff on the internet which all help us as a population. They can be inspirational stories on there as well, whether that's growing great organisations, overcoming challenges. All of these are helping us to be better people and build our skills. And my final point, I think, would be that social networking and digital technologies are a force for equality. Now, there's a lot of talk about democracy and the extent to which social networking contributed to democratic movements, but there is a much greater or a much more level playing field now between individuals, between researchers and research, between clients and researchers. We're much more now looking at each other rather than as experts and different individuals controlling things in different ways. So that's my final point.
Great, thank you very much.